Welcome to Civic Clarity Media, where we break down the stories shaping our world with clarity and context. U.S. President Donald Trump says he will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin next Friday in Alaska to discuss ending the war with Ukraine. But here's what has the world talking. Before the meeting was even set, Trump floated the idea of a deal that could involve swapping territories. Supporters see this as bold diplomacy. But critics are warning of dangerous concessions and the sidelining of Ukraine's own president, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Just days ago, expectations were that any Trump-Putin meeting would take place in a neutral, third country. Instead, Trump's announcement places the talks on American soil. For some, that's a powerful statement, bringing the Kremlin to U.S. territory to negotiate peace. For others, it's a risky move that could be used by Moscow as a propaganda victory. Before the date and place were even set, Trump suggested that any peace agreement might involve some swapping of territories. Analysts believe this could mean Russia giving up certain areas outside the 4 Ukrainian regions it claims to have annexed in 2022. But that interpretation still leaves much of Ukraine's territory under Russian control, a scenario Kyiv has repeatedly rejected. One of the most controversial aspects is Trump's willingness to meet Putin, even if Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is not at the table. Critics warn this could sideline Ukraine in its own war, sending a message that Washington and Moscow can decide its fate without its consent. For Zelenskyy, who has spent the past year rallying international support, being excluded from these talks could weaken his negotiating position and embolden Russia. Prior to this announcement, Trump's attempts to pressure Russia into halting its military campaign had made little visible progress. Some wonder if this meeting could change that, or if it's simply the start of a longer series of talks in which Moscow feels it holds the upper hand. Putin enters these talks with territory already under his control, a battle-hardened military, and the knowledge that Kyiv isn't at the table. Trump enters with the hope of a foreign policy win, and perhaps, the belief that personal diplomacy can do what formal negotiations have failed to achieve. So, could this meeting actually stop the war? History shows that big diplomatic breakthroughs can happen in unexpected ways, but also that poorly structured talks can lock in disadvantages for the weaker side. Without Ukraine present, any deal struck in Alaska may face rejection in Kyiv, and resistance from European allies who have staked their own credibility on defending Ukraine's sovereignty. Next Friday, the world's attention will be on Alaska. Whether it becomes the place where war begins to end, or the stage for a geopolitical gamble, depends on what's said behind closed doors and who's allowed to speak. Nevertheless, Ukraine's lack of involvement in the upcoming meeting will speak volumes. If you find value in deep dives on politics, diplomacy, and global affairs, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that matters.